In the name of Allah, the All-Beneficent, the All-Merciful.
Does successorship only refer to political authority?
Some deviating people do terrible injustice to the event of Ghadeer by portraying it as a matter of transferring political power. They perhaps unwittingly borrow the Bakri and Omari understanding of the term Khalifa, interpreting it as a ruling successor. They state that the main goal of the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, in Ghadeer Khumm was to establish Maulana Amirul Mu'minin al-Imam Ali, peace be upon him, as a political leader after his departure.
Were it truly so, the matter would have been a historical matter, and it would be meaningless to quarrel over the right of Maulana Amirul Mu'minin al-Imam Ali, peace be upon him, to rule after passing 1,400 years. It is almost 14 centuries too late to decide whether Maulana Amirul Mu'minin al-Imam Ali, peace be upon him, should have been the first or the fourth ruling governor after the departure of the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny. Were there a mistake during the upheaval after his departure, it should not be stressed, because no one can change the past, and believing that Maulana Amirul Mu'minin al-Imam Ali, peace be upon him, should have been the first ruler instead of the fourth would have no consequence in today's life.
This viewpoint ultimately led some to believe that the differences between the Shia and the Bakris and Omaris are limited to some minor historical disagreements, which do not have any bearing on their salvation in the hereafter, and that their beliefs are the same. Thus, they should abandon their differences for the sake of their prosperity in the life of this world.
By considering the issue of successorship to be a matter of political rule, they have unknowingly belittled the goals and the achievements of Allah's Messenger and his successors, peace be upon them, for historical records show that, due to a lack of sincere supporters, they were unable to implement their ideal divine government. Besides, most of the Shia infallible Imams, peace be upon them, never attempted to implement their own government and used to refer those who questioned their stance to Imam al-Mahdi, peace be upon him, who will appear at the end of time and will establish the kingdom of justice on earth. On the other hand, a brief look at the sermon of Ghadeer shows that the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, wanted to pass on much more than political authority to Maulana Amirul Mu'minin al-Imam Ali, peace be upon him, and the infallible Imams after him. An examination of his words shows that they are the guardians that Allah appointed, and people must acknowledge their authority inside their hearts and follow them in all aspects of life. People will benefit from them as their Imams and will be rewarded by Allah only if they accept them willingly and not through political dominion. Whether or not the guardians that Allah appointed become a ruling authority, the believers of all generations have a duty to abide by their instructions. Therefore, it is not too late to follow their commands, accept them as guardians, submit to them, prefer their sayings over one's own and others' opinions, consider them as the center of truth, evaluate everything by their standard, and keep aloof from their enemies who opposed their commands.
It is also interesting to observe that the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, mentioned the titles Wali, Mawla, and Imam for Maulana al-Imam Ali, peace be upon him, in his sermon over 27 times, whereas he used the word Khalifa for him only 3 times. Even under the Bakris and Omaris implication of the word Khalifa, successor, which limits it to political rule, it is clear that the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, stressed spiritual leadership in his speech, which would guarantee the salvation of those who follow the Imam, and would lead them towards paradise. Worldly issues never took priority for the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, and his successors. Maulana Amirul Mominin Al-Imam Al-Himzulf has said, "By Allah, this world of yours is more despicable in my eyes than a pig bone in the hand of a leper."
Certainly, had the majority of people followed the sayings of the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, concerning the divinely appointed guide, he would have naturally come to power. Thus, Maulana Amirul Mominin al-Imam Ali's exclusive qualification for political rule is only one of the natural outcomes of the guardianship, Walaya, that the Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, established for him on behalf of Allah on the day of Ghadeer. In this manner, the spiritual authority of Maulana Amirul Mominin al-Imam Ali, peace be upon him, and his pure descendants is still effective over the remaining believers until the day of judgment, irrespective of the support of the majority of people for them or their political authority.
Believing in the infallible Imam's virtues in one's heart and adhering to his words in disguise, al-taqiyya, under tyrannical rule are not only sufficient for salvation in the hereafter but also rewarded many folds, because observing faith is more difficult at times of terror and fear. According to the traditions, worship during the days of tyrannical government is more rewarding for the believers than worship during the time of the just government, though this fact should not prevent the believers from praying to Allah for the manifestation of the kingdom of justice on earth by Imam al-Mahdi, peace be upon him.